Hello everybody, welcome once again to Filmsplaining. I'm your host, Martyn Strange. It's that time of year again, my annual tradition of compiling what I personally feel to be the best films of the year is here. I have been doing this gimmick where I pick a number of films from the number year that it is. So I've been doing this since 2021. I don't know why, it's just fun. So for 2023, I had 23 movies, 24 for 24, and now we arrive at 25 for 25. Right off the bat, though, I want to address a few things that I missed this year, sadly, because they were either not playing in my city or only had a very limited release, and I could not make any show times. But these movies I really wanted to check out but was unable to. It was just an accident from Jafar Panahi. This won the Palme d'Or at Cannes this year. I did not get to see it because it was not playing in my city. The Testament of Ann Lee, a really big omission that I had really hoped to catch when I was at TIFF, but was unable to make the show time that was available to me, and it also is not playing in my city whatsoever. A huge crime, because I was really looking forward to seeing this movie. I hear that Amanda Seyfried is quite magnificent in it, and as a fan of The Brutalist, I was looking forward to seeing Mona Fastfold in the director's chair. The next one is Surat, another kind of festival favorite of this year, kind of quietly been building to some awards consideration lately. The only thing I really know about it is that there is lots of rave music, apparently out in the desert somewhere. That's all I really know about it, but it was on my list to see this year and was not able to catch it. And then lastly, The Secret Agent. This movie's power has been growing increasingly recently with the multiple nominations and wins for Wagner Moura for Best Actor. Once again, the power of Brazilian cinema and the Brazilian fan base is out in full force. But The Secret Agent is another one that I just did not get to see. It was at TIFF, but it was not on my radar at that time. I certainly didn't expect to see Wagner Moura being like a major awards player this year either, so that's kind of exciting. Before we get into the top 25, my favorite 25, I do want to give some honorable mentions because honestly, I think this was a great movie year, and my list was constantly in flux throughout the year. I was adding things, I was removing things. I ended up having a long list of like 40-something movies because I saw so much by the nature of me going to Toronto this year. I watched more movies than I ever have in a single year, so that was very exciting for me, obviously. But a lot of these I really liked. They just did not make the list ultimately because I liked other films more. But first up is Lurker. This is from director Alex Russell, and it is available to stream on Mubi right now. Next is Harvest, a very interesting kind of folk horror movie directed by Athena Rachel Sangari. This is also available to stream on Mubi now. Next is Bring Them Down, directed by Christopher Andrews, a very interesting thriller set in Ireland. Once again available to stream on Mubi. Next is The Long Walk, the Francis Lawrence adaptation of the Stephen King story. I saw this in theaters. I liked it fine. I think the performances are really the best thing about it. I just wish it had gone a little further in its depiction of dystopia, but this film is now available to watch on VOD. Next is The Monkey, one of Oz Perkins' movies this year, which I saw in theaters and had a really great time with. My Letterboxd review at the time was, I think there's no one I'd rather get drunk with more than Oz Perkins. Really fun, entertaining movie, and it is available to stream on Hulu right now. Then we have Warfare from Alex Garland, which he co-wrote with Ray Mendoza, an Iraq War veteran. This movie I saw in theaters, and it is propulsive and loud and nail-biting, very intense experience. So if you think you can handle that, it is available to watch on HBO Max right now. Next is Predator, Killer of Killers, one of two Predator movies this year. I never would have thought in my life that I would see a year that had two Predator movies, but here we are. This is an animated anthology movie directed by Dan Trachtenberg, who also directed Prey, as well as the other Predator movie from this year, Predator Badlands, which I unfortunately unfortunately did not get to see. Killer of Killers is a really fun time. I thought it was incredibly inventive. The animation is superb, and you can watch it right now on Hulu. Next is Left-Handed Girl. This is directed by Shi-Ching Su. It is co-written and edited by Sean Baker, and I was really delighted by this movie. It's a very touching, very heartwarming movie that also kind of gets under your skin a little bit in interesting ways, and it's made for an incredibly low shoestring budget, but the filmmaking is still pretty remarkable considering that. It is available to watch on Netflix now. Next is Mega Doc, the documentary about the making of Francis Ford Coppola's Megalopolis. It is directed by Mike Figgis. I rented this movie on Apple purely because I have a fascination with the fact that Megalopolis got made, and this documentary is incredibly eye-opening, and it goes really, really into the weeds and gets into the drama and the utter chaos of what it was like to make this movie. So if you're interested in that, if you're equally fascinated by Megalopolis, check it out on Apple to rent right now. Okay, that brings us to my list here. And at number 25, a film that initially was much higher on the list, but obviously the more I saw, the further down the line it went. But it is 28 years later. This is Danny Boyle's new film. It reunites him with Alex Garland. They are coming back after many collaborations, but most notably after 28 Days Later. And I saw it in theaters, really liked it, really just admired the big swings it was going for. There's some really gruesome shit in this movie. There is just like all of this really interesting technique stuff that Danny Boyle is doing with these iPhones. I'm sure everyone by now has seen the behind the scenes shot of all the iPhones rigged up together to capture the kind of like almost stop motion sort of shots that he pulls off here. But I liked the movie. I'm very hesitant about The Bone Temple because I've seen Nia DaCosta's other work and I'm just not a very big fan of her work. But 28 Years Later is really a good time. It is available to stream on Netflix right now. Number 24 is Bring Her Back, a very disturbing, very kind of psychological but also somewhat supernatural horror movie from the Filippo brothers, who made a huge splash a few years ago with the film Talk to Me. This is their follow-up to that. I found it really disturbing, very dark, very bleak, but also pretty entertaining to watch. Like, there's just some gruesome stuff that if you're into, like I am, if you're into John Carpenter movies or Clive Barker or even like Sam Raimi, like there is some dark, brutal kind of stuff in this. And I watched it again on HBO Max when it came out, and I don't think I'll watch this movie again for a while just because of how utterly kind of bleak and at times sadistic it is. But if you are into horror, this is going to be your jam. It's available to stream on HBO Max right now. Number 23 is Christie. This is the first of many movies on this list that I will be talking about that I saw at TIFF. Look, Sydney Sweeney, she's incredibly problematic. She had a banner year for controversies and issues, but I am judging this movie based purely on its merit, and I will say that she is very, very good in the movie. I really liked it. I reviewed it with my pal Jared Spears on his podcast, and this is a good sports movie. It's a good biopic. It's pretty conventional for the most part, but there are some things that are, less than savory. They are depicting domestic violence and a woman having to come up in the world of sports, of male-dominated sports. And I just thought it was a pretty solid movie. It came out to just zero reception. Nobody went to see this movie when it came out. I did not go rewatch it when it was released. I don't know. I think maybe once the Sydney Sweeney kind of chaos starts to bubble down, people will probably go back and revisit this movie. Hopefully. I just think it's a very well-made film, and that's why it's number 23 on the list. Number 22 is If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You, directed by Mary Bronstein and starring the incredible Rose Byrne. This was a very late entry for me. I was not able to see it at TIFF, and I did not see it in its very limited release when it was out here. But I rented it on Apple, and this is a tour de force performance from Rose Byrne. She is just phenomenal in it. It is a heartbreaking movie. It's a very, very intense watch. You have to kind of be in the right sort of mindset to receive this sort of film, but it's also like hysterically funny at times and like so relatable. Even I'm not a mother, I'm not a woman, but I could relate to this woman and her struggles with this kid and her inability to kind of like accept her responsibility. Just really, really stunning performance. I think if this were any other year and Jessie Buckley were not running, that Rose Byrne would be winning this award. But she did win in the Golden Globes, so that's great for her. And I hope more people seek this movie out because it's really good. Number 21 is F1. I just had a blast watching this. I went to see it in the theater, and it was loud and propulsive and fun and exciting and really slick. I mean, it's an Apple movie. This, of course, is directed by Joseph Kosinski, who directed Top Gun Maverick, and it stars Brad Pitt as an aging former Formula One driver who reluctantly, but not so reluctantly, gets back on the track. This movie got me into watching Formula One, which I think is really a testament to the success of the film. The fact that it made me care about a sport, which I had never even thought about before, had never watched. But I watched this movie and I immediately went home and started watching the Netflix series Drive to Survive, and then I started watching race highlights on YouTube, and now I'm fully Formula One pilled. I think it's a very exciting, very interesting sport. So the fact that happened, is another reason why this film is on my list. I watched it again on Apple. It is an Apple original, so you can watch it there. Now, number 20 is Materialists from Celine Song, starring Dakota Johnson, Chris Evans, and Pedro Pascal. Saw this movie in theaters and really, really liked it. This is the kind of rom-dram that I want to see. I thought it was very smart, very stylish. Every kind of shot is just like absorbed in the beauty of the people on screen and the objects on screen. And it's very just lush and luxurious. It didn't hold up quite as well on rewatch when I rewatched it at home. It is available to stream, I believe, on HBO Max right now. But I still found it quite delightful. And I don't really get the hate for this movie. I think it's a fun time. And I think it's a very incisive look at modern dating and modern romance and the kind of thing that we need more honest depictions of, in my opinion. At 19 is Blue Moon, one of two Richard Linklater films appearing on this list, and this year, of course. I saw this movie at TIFF. Richard Linklater, Ethan Hawke, and Bobby Cannavale, and Andrew Scott all came out and spoke about the film a little bit, and it was just a delight. I knew nothing about Rodgers and Hart. I knew Rodgers and Hammerstein vaguely, but musical theater is very much not my background, so I was not familiar with Lorenz Hart or this story, but I think it's a great performance from Ethan Hawke. It's a delightful movie, very funny, very moving, very relatable, being an artist who feels like their time is past and the rest of the world no longer wants anything to do with them. I've had those thoughts many times myself, so I found this movie really, really watchable, and I'm actually itching to rewatch it soon. Number 18 is Sorry Baby, written and directed and starring Ava Victor. This was another late edition, one that I watched just a week or so ago on HBO Max. I was not able to catch it in its limited release here in my city, but I'd heard great things about this movie all throughout the year, and so I was really looking forward to it. I think Ava Victor is one of the rising talents, one of the best kind of discoveries of this year for me personally. This movie is so smart, it's sophisticated, it is hilariously funny, but like the kind of funny that makes you uncomfortable at times, similar in the vein to If I Had Legs I'd Kick You. And it's depicting really dark, intense subject matter, but it does this wonderful balancing act of tones between comedy and drama. And I was really impressed with this, and I really look forward to seeing what Ava Victor has coming next. At 17 is Black Bag, the latest film from Steven Soderbergh, or maybe one of the latest films. The guy makes like 10 movies a year. I'm not sure if it's his newest, but I saw this in theaters way back in like February, I want to say. Just a fun, rip-roaring time. This movie is incredibly slick and stylish. It is a kind of comic, drama, thriller, spy, all these genres kind of wrapped up in one. Great cast, Cate Blanchett, Michael Fassbender, and I just had a great time watching this. I think that's why it's so high on this list. One of the few that I did not get to rewatch before compiling, but if you like Steven Soderbergh's style, if you like great actors delivering cutting dialogue and pace of his movies, you will totally be into this. And I think Black Bag has been largely forgotten this year due to the fact that we just got this huge influx of great movies in the fall and winter, but check it out if you have not seen it yet. 16 is Train Dreams. This is one of the last films that I saw at TIFF, And by that point in the festival, I was running on fumes. I was very tired. I was in a beautiful theater to watch it, but it was very cramped and packed, and the seats were extremely uncomfortable. And if you've seen this movie, it's a very slow, very quiet movie. I mean, I was under the threat of falling asleep the entire time watching this the first time I saw it. However, I watched it again on Netflix when it premiered and totally got what it was going for. I was so much more invested because I was at home and I was comfortable and I could really focus and pay attention, and I was not, about to pass out from exhaustion. This movie really worked on me, and I am excited to see what Clint Bentley does next. I don't really know any of his other work. I know he's been working for a while, but Joel Edgerton is fantastic in this movie. Felicity Jones is fantastic in this movie. William H. Macy would probably be my sleeper best supporting actor nomination. That of course will never happen, but just a fantastic movie, gorgeous cinematography, a beautifully realized kind of tone poem. Number 15 is the second Richard Linklater movie on this list, which of course is Nouvelle Vague. This is one that was also playing at TIFF, but I did not get to see. So I watched it on Netflix when it premiered there, and I was just so impressed by the technical prowess of this movie. Richard Linklater literally recreated the 60s Paris aesthetic of the French New Wave perfectly, to a T, and the actors he found to portray the filmmakers like Jean-Luc Godard and François Truffaut and Agnès Varda and all of these iconic French New Wave directors, Claude Chabrol, was incredibly satisfying. I just think on a craft standpoint, this movie is stunning. I thought Zoe Deutsch was actually quite good in her role as Jean Seberg. If you don't know, the film is basically recreating behind the scenes of the production of Breathless, Jean-Luc Godard's landmark 1960 French New Wave film. And I didn't expect to like it ultimately more than I did Blue Moon, but I did, and was pretty surprised by that. I think if you are a film fan, if you are a cinephile, this movie is definitely for you, and I urge more people to check it out. Number 14 is The Phoenician Scheme, the latest from Wes Anderson, starring Benicio del Toro, who had an incredible year. I watched this on Peacock, although I saw that now it is not available to stream on Peacock, so I'm not sure where you can find it now other than VOD, but I really liked this. I've had a kind of push-pull relationship with Wes Anderson's recent work the last few years. Some of them I've really liked, some of them I just haven't really been able to connect to. The French Dispatch I just didn't really understand, but I also really liked Asteroid City. And I think this is a kind of synthesis of the things that he's been trying over the last few years. It's very funny. Michael Cera has a memorable role. Of course, once again, with Wes Anderson, you have an absolutely stacked cast. It would take me the rest of this video just to list off all the names, but I was really impressed with it, especially with Bruno Delbonnel's cinematography, which I think is giving this movie some really cool energy that I haven't seen in Wes's movies in a little while. So check out The Phoenician Scheme. Number 13 is The Mastermind. This is the new film from Kelly Reichardt, starring Josh O'Connor, who also had an incredible year. This is a Mubi release, so I watched it on Mubi. Really, really fun movie. It is essentially a 70s set heist thriller, art heist thriller, but it is a very slow, very quiet movie, so it's not all that thrilling, but it's very funny. It is very knowing in its critique of capitalism and kind of the dawn of this particular archetype of man that Josh O'Connor is playing. It is a gorgeous looking movie. It has a great soundtrack. I'm not super familiar with Kelly Reichardt's work. I've seen maybe one or two of her other films before this one and found them to be a little too slow for my taste. But now, having watched this, I am eager to get back in and rewatch her other movies and see the rest of her catalog, because there's just some really interesting stuff going on here. And I was just really, really impressed with this movie. If you want to check it out now, it is available to stream on Mubi. 12 is Hamnet from director Chloe Zhao, starring Jessie Buckley and Paul Mescal. I saw this in theaters, and I actually made a video talking about the use of the piece of music on The Nature of Daylight at the end of this movie. Check that video out if you want to know a few more of my thoughts on Hamnet. It's really more about that piece of music. But look, this is just, it's not like a great hang. It's not a fun, enjoyable watch because you are processing grief with this family, particularly with Jessie Buckley's character of Agnes. But she gives just a performance for the ages. She is 100% going to win that Oscar this year, and I think deservedly so. She's already won several precursor awards. But this is, if you like Chloe Zhao's thing, which is a kind of slow, meditative, naturalistic movie. It actually has quite a bit in common with The Mastermind, now that I think about it. Just really enjoyed the performances in this movie and the dedication to portraying grief and loss on screen, which it can be kind of a hard thing to do from time to time. As of now, Hamnet is not yet streaming, although I'm sure you will be able to check it out probably in the Apple Store very soon. Number 11 is No Other Choice, the newest film from the Korean master Park Chan-wook, starring Lee Byung-hun. This is another movie that I saw at TIFF. Really, really enjoyed it at TIFF. I wish I could have gotten the chance to rewatch it actually before making this video, but it's another one that it only played for like 2 weeks in my town, and I wasn't able to make it. But this is a very caustic, funny thriller comedy. I mean, Park Chan-wook just knows how to balance these tones better than pretty much anyone else on the planet. It's a very modern movie. It's about AI and the replacement of the workforce, competition between men to be able to keep their jobs and their livelihoods, and the lengths that they are willing to go to in order to do that, and has quite a bit in common actually with my next pick, which is Roofman, which I also saw at TIFF. It's a new film from in France, starring Channing Tatum and Kirsten Dunst. Another film about a guy who is struggling to make ends meet and decides to commit crime in order to be able to stay afloat. You'll sense a running theme through my list here in that a lot of these movies are about the failed experiment of capitalism and what it has done to our society. But Roofman, I saw at TIFF, and it was fantastic. I loved Eric C. France as a director. I wish he would make more movies. He takes quite a long time to make films, but he gave a short talk about his inspiration for the film and this incredibly strange and bizarre true story of this guy who robbed all of these McDonald's. Channing Tatum is remarkable in this movie. He's very funny. This is exactly the kind of role that I want to see him playing, and Kirsten Dunst is phenomenal as well, as she always is. This is a great Christmas movie. I actually wanted to rewatch it around Christmas time, but didn't get around to it. So next Christmas, check out Roofman. We're really in the TIFF zone of my list right here, since I saw all of these films in Toronto. But next, at number 9, is Wake Up Dead Man, a Knives Out mystery. This is from director Rian Johnson, starring Daniel Craig, once again as Benoit Blanc. I talked a lot about this movie. I talked about several of these movies in my actual TIFF video, which if you haven't seen, I'll link down here. But I rewatched the film on Netflix. I still think it's great. It's incredibly entertaining. It's dark. It's fun. It's provocative. It is poking fun at modern kind of MAGA culture and influencer culture and the kind of religious zealotry and idiocracy that our country in particular has become unfortunately possessed by. But it's, in my opinion, I don't know if it's the best Knives Out movie, but I think it is definitely my favorite Knives Out movie. And there are some really great performances. The mystery is even twistier and turnier than ever. I think even maybe sometimes to a fault. The plot becomes kind of too convoluted at a certain point, but I think Rian Johnson pays it off beautifully in the end. If you haven't yet seen Wake Up Dead Man, it was one of the biggest things on Netflix, so go check it out now. Number 8 is another TIFF movie and another Netflix movie. It is, of course, Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein, starring Oscar Isaac as the Mad Doctor and Jacob Elordi as the Creature. A lot of people don't like this movie, and I really don't understand why. I think it is a perfect distillation of what Del Toro does and the reasons that we like his work. It's all on display here. Is it a little too on the nose? Sometimes, yes. Maybe it's a little too obvious. But I think it's a masterful feat of craft. For anyone invested in the technical aspects of filmmaking, this film is a feast for the eyes. And I've been watching a lot of Del Toro's press for this movie and the interviews that he's given, and he is just so forthcoming and generous with how he envisioned the movie and how he wanted it to be made by human beings and have all this really hands-on tangible craft to it. So it's stunning, and Jacob Elordi is fantastic in this role. I think it's, to me, his breakout performance, even though he's obviously well established by now, but it showed me a mode that he can do that I wasn't aware that he could do yet. And it's Frankenstein. It's one of my favorite novels of all time. I think it's the closest adaptation of the novel probably that we will ever get. And if you don't like Frankenstein, if you don't like Guillermo del Toro, you're not going to like this movie, obviously. But if you're in the bag for both of those things, I think it's fantastic. Next up at number 7 is Eddington. This is Ari Aster's latest movie starring Joaquin Phoenix, Pedro Pascal, Emma Stone, Austin Butler. I saw this movie in theaters and was really blown away by it. I think it is a near perfect distillation of what we went through in 2020, especially like where I am, a small southern town. Everyone was just going insane, and this is a Western, and it's in a Western town, but all of the things that Ari Aster is depicting, people constantly being on their phones, people constantly being subject to misinformation and conspiracy theorists, and the kind of birth of a whole new sort of economy of grifters, of like online grifters and hucksters who basically made their way by spreading fake news and conspiracy theories. The way that kind of breaks down a society on an individual level is really smartly depicted here. I watched it again on HBO Max. Still very powerful, still really fun, incredibly funny. In the words of the immortal John Waters, if you don't like this movie, I hate you. Number 6 is Begonia, the latest film from Yorgos Lanthimos and Emma Stone, starring Emma Stone, Jesse Plemons. Look, this movie is just so fun. It's so funny. It is another like caustically hilarious take on the kind of chaos we live in now, our modern times of misinformation, and has a lot in common with Eddington. It was even produced by Ari Aster. I saw it in theaters with a friend, and we both laughed and thought it was kind of a riot. It is a remake of a Korean film called Save the Green Planet. I rewatched it on Peacock. It was just as funny and insightful, and just all of these performances. It's kind of a chamber piece. It's very, small movie, but it feels very big. Obviously, with the kind of science fiction nature of what it is, there are larger things at play, and you have this guy who has basically thinks that he has uncovered a plot to ruin the world by these aliens, and Emma Stone is this captive. Just a really biting, hilarious movie that you can stream right now on Peacock. Number 5 is Weapons, a film from Zach Cregger, starring Julia Garner, Josh Brolin, Alden Ehrenreich, and of course, Amy Madigan, the kind of sleeper hit. This movie made a lot of money, got a lot of people out into theaters. I watched it in theaters. I think I saw it twice. It's one of my favorite horror movies in recent years. It has been described as horror Magnolia. I think that's somewhat true, but it's not as long and kind of like dense and psychologically draining as Magnolia. So those comparisons aren't like totally accurate, but there is a lot of just really fun stuff in here when you get the reveal of what is actually happening. It's very satisfying. Some truly horrific scares in this movie. I think Zach Cregger has such a precise way to instill terror in you, judging from Barbarian and Weapons, and hopefully from his forthcoming Resident Evil movie. But I just thought this film was fantastic. It's so fun. It's so entertaining, and is legitimately scary. And that's why it's so high on my list. And you can watch it right now on HBO Max. Number 4 is Sinners, Ryan Coogler's massive vampire blues western drama thriller horror movie starring, of course, Michael B. Jordan and Haley Steinfeld, as well as a host of incredible actors, Delroy Lindo, Wunmi Mosaku. This movie is it's kind of the movie of the year. At least it was until another film came out for me personally. I saw it twice in theaters, once in IMAX, which is fantastic when you get the changing aspect ratios when the screen expands and contracts. It's so cool. It's just such a cool movie, and it's exciting, and it's fresh, and it feels like the kinds of movies that I have been wanting more and more of from Hollywood in the last several years, and the fact that he was able to make this movie and the fact that it made so much money and so many people went to see it multiple times is just an incredible success. And the music is remarkable. Ludwig Göransson, of course, returning, collaborating with Coogler once again. But this movie is fantastic. Anyone who hasn't seen it by now, where have you been? Are you living under a rock? Because Sinners is just one of the best movies of the year, hands down. And it's available to watch right now, once again on HBO Max. Number 3, this is the first film I saw at TIFF. It is Sentimental Value, new film from Joachim Trier, starring Renate Reinsve and Stellan Skarsgård and Elle Fanning and Inga Ipsdottir Lilius. This movie hit me right in the heart when I saw it, and I talked about it at length in my Toronto vid, which of course you can check out here in the description. Again, I did not get to rewatch it, unfortunately, but this movie just, like, it devastated me emotionally. It's so picaresque and emotional and very, like, it's dealing with memory and with the logic of memory and familiar relations. And I think Joachim Trier has just, like, created this beautiful aesthetic that it feels like a movie from the 70s, and yet it also feels like incredibly modern and new. And I was just really impressed with the performances. Stellan Skarsgård just recently won a Golden Globe. He has long been the favorite for supporting actor, although recently the power of Benicio del Toro has been growing. So this is going to be possibly the most interesting category at the Oscars come March. I have my thoughts on who's going to win, but things could change. If you see Stellan Skarsgård in this movie, you know he's drawing on a lot of personal experience to inform this performance. And I actually think Elle Fanning is remarkable in this movie. She's not really getting talked about in terms of awards races this year, but she's doing something really meta and really interesting as well. Just a beautiful, gorgeous movie that I hope more people can see now that it has gained some kind of international acclaim. Number 2, will have you dream big because it is Marty Supreme. Look, I did a whole video on Marty Supreme. That's going to be right here in the description of this video and at the end there, so you can check it out. A movie that absolutely floored me, and I saw it twice in theaters, and I still think it's just incredibly powerful, fun, dynamic, tightrope walking of tones. If you know the Safdie brothers, you know that Josh Safdie, well, I guess we know now that Josh Safdie is the one who really brings the energy and the intensity to the project. Like, top to bottom, great performances, especially from a lot of first-time actors, a lot of not actors. Kevin O'Leary, I talked about it in my video, but he is pretty fantastic in the movie, even though I don't care for him personally at all. But really, the story of Marty Supreme is the story of Timothée Chalamet and the press tour that he's given and his publicity. Once again, I talked about all that at length, so I'll just say that I loved the movie, and if it were not for another film, I think Marty Supreme would easily be my number 1 of the year. But number 1 is, of course, the only movie that could be at number 1, which is One Battle After Another, Paul Thomas Anderson's epic drama, thriller, comedy that is, it's just the movie of the year. I mean, everyone I've talked to, every one of my colleagues, this is number 1. This is their favorite movie. I think I know a few people who still have Sinners at number 1, but this movie just hit everyone like a lightning bolt. It is incredibly modern, but it's timeless. It just has an unbelievable cast, all of whom are giving career best performances. Tiana Taylor just recently won at the Golden Globes. Chase Infinity is an incredible discovery this year. She's so good in this movie, and I can't wait to see what she does next. Saw it twice in theaters, once in IMAX, and then I watched it again at home on HBO Max as soon as it premiered on the service. So I've seen this movie 3 times this year, and I still almost don't really have the words to describe how much I love it, although I did write a very lengthy review on my Patreon, which you can check out if you want to hear more of my thoughts on the movie. But this is the movie of the year, straight up. Viva la revolucion. So that's it. That's my list. I was doing this very off the cuff, so I'm sure I missed a lot of things that I actually wanted to talk about with the films, but I was trying to kind of just ram through it. This is coming a little bit later than usual than I have in the beginning of the year, but I had some other things that I was working on as well. Check out my Marty Supreme video, check out my On the Nature of Daylight video, and check out my Martin Scorsese career retrospective, which is now my most watched video on YouTube. I'm very happy that so many people are finding that and getting really into it. But yeah, this is the top 25 of 2025. I'll put a link to the Letterboxd list of all these movies. If you want to see all the cool posters that I have custom set for them. Pretty fantastic year in movies, and I can't wait to see what 2026 has in store. And I want to hear, what are you looking forward to? What is your most anticipated film of 2026? Do we think that it's going to be a better movie year than 2025 was? Because personally, I think 2025 was pretty remarkable and might be kind of hard to top. So that's it. Until next time, happy viewing.